never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
Maintaining exit vector course. Steady till ready. Coordinates input. Plotting jump course. Guidance has converged. We're looking good. Allocating auxiliary reactor power. System checks are green across the board. Grav jump commencing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How's it going, guys? This is Trinimpodence here with another video. Now today I want to talk a little bit more about Starfield. Yes, Starfield. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. You've seen a lot of videos of people breaking down their trailers, the gameplay trailers, and even some of their interviews. But I noticed that there seems to be a lack of depth to those videos, and a lot of people seem to avoid certain topics. And that's what I hope to do here today. Is to discuss a couple things that I feel like a couple people have kind of just avoided speaking about. Now, some of the main topics that I would like to hit today is some of the things I heard Todd Howard and Pete Hines talk about in their interviews. Specifically, Todd Howard compared FTL, Faster Than Light, to Starfield. And he talked about how the systems are kind of similar to that. And I'm going to show you a clip of that right here.
And if you look at it, you can see it in the video. Your ship has various power systems. A little bit of FTL there in terms of putting how much power into 3 different weapon systems, and then your engines and shields, and the grav drive is what lets you jump and sort of get out of some situations that you have to put power to.
Now, another thing that I want to bring more attention to is his direct comparison of Starfield and exploration of planets to Daggerfall. Now, why is this significant? Well, I hear a lot of comparisons of people throwing it out to No Man's Sky, and I think that's just not a fair comparison, and I'll go a little bit more into details later.
Well, I'm just going to wander this planet, and it's going to provide some gameplay and some random content and those kind of things, kind of like a Daggerfall would.
Lastly, the one big comparison that Todd Howard had made to another game was Mech Warriors. And he used this comparison to describe the pacing of the combat and the flying in Starfield. Now, I think this one's a little bit more self-explanatory with the video that they show. If you were to take a look at some Mech Warrior videos, you can see how it plays, and it's very similar to Starfield and what he was describing, essentially how the lock-on system works, targeting works, and locating your targets, following them around, and such things as that. It's just the general tone and pace of the game. But with the elements, especially of the FTL aspect of it, I see there's going to be a very big difference when it comes to both Mech Warriors and I say this not knowing much about Mech Warriors, of course. Did not play Mech Warriors, but comparison between Mech Warriors and FTL, Faster and Light. Faster and Light is a game I did play a decent amount of and I enjoy.
Dogfighting, I have quotes up. We keep the pace fairly slow. One of the games that I love that we sort of look at for pace is Mech Warrior, believe it or not.
Nice. Good callback there.
Like that's probably a little bit slower, but in terms of systems and power and being able to line things up, now it's a little bit faster than that, but you know what I mean, as opposed to a twitchy dogfighter.
Let's start with one of the more simpler things that I would like to break down and describe the differences between the exploration of planets in comparison to No Man's Sky, which Starfield seems to get compared a lot to. Of course, I am adding to this, but regardless, it has to be done. Now, in No Man's Sky, you go into a world that is procedurally generated. Typically, it'll have something where it tells you the type of planet is, whether it has life forms on it, whether it's a frost giant, a gas giant, etc. It has its different life forms that you can go and explore, and you can see, you can touch, you can scan, and you can name. And that's cool. And Bethesda has something very similar. Now, I don't believe you'll be able to go around and name your own stuff. I believe everything is already uh, recorded and put to a certain extent, you know what I mean? As in, you go to a planet and you scan this object, and although, this is the first time you scan it, I do believe that the item will already have a name. Whether or not that name is procedurally generated or not, I can't say. But the main point that I want to make is, as I said, his comparison to Daggerfall. If you go on No Man's Sky and you go to this planet, once you explore and scan, you know what to expect around the planet. But Todd Howard said that there will be procedurally generated encounters and such as you are exploring around these planets.
Well, I'm just going to wander this planet, and it's going to provide some gameplay and some random content and those kind of things, kind of like a Daggerfall would.
Okay, what does that mean? Well, just like in Daggerfall, as you explore around a dungeon or a field or something like that, you will eventually bump into something. Or even Skyrim, let's say. I think Skyrim is a more recent game, so it may be a little bit easier for people to understand and use as an example. I remember a very common interaction and a very common occurrence that I noticed in Skyrim, for example, was you can have a highway robber come up to you and it'll be like, hey, give me your money. And you can say like, no, intimidate them, tell them you got no money, tell them to back off, etc., or just ignore him and just to start attacking him because he's going to attack you or she, whoever the thief may be. Now, I personally expect something similar to that extent when it comes to the planet. Now, let's say if you do go to this barren ice planet that doesn't have much but resources on it, and you decide to set up a base there. And by the way, these bases, based on the radius that the the gameplay show, these bases can be pretty large, and you can have multiple of them, which are great, which can be ran by people. Now, let's use this example. You go to this planet, and as you're exploring this planet, you know, something like No Man's Sky already has decided what you will find there. You might find some rune stones there that tells you like a little bit more about the culture or the language that the people of the region. You might find some different animals, some ancient artifacts, etc., etc. But here, I feel like it's going to be a little bit different. Let's say you are on this planet that somebody else also went on. You guys both went to this planet for the first time. While you get a random encounter where now this new organization, the space pirates, let's call them, that I believe was called the Red Fleet. Imagine now they are on this planet. Maybe they set up their own base. Maybe they have a little trade going on. Maybe they're talking amongst each other, planning to go to another planet. Maybe they're exploring just like you. Maybe there's other people who decide to settle on this planet and mine it, and there's these procedurally generated building structures that you can go up to. Maybe there's a crash plane, or I'm sorry, a crash ship on the planet, and now you go to explore the ship. Maybe you scavenge some parts, maybe you save a person, now they join your crew, etc., etc. While No Man's Sky has some aspects like that, like for example the crash ship, I'm saying with the Bethesda game, it seems as if it won't allow you to not experience anything on this planet. It seems as if, from based on what they said, that after a certain amount of exploring, something is going to happen. You're going to bump into something. What that something may be different for everybody. And that's a part of the world building and the story that comes along with your personal character story. You went to this frost planet and you encountered these space pirates where maybe you decide to join them, maybe you killed all of them and stole their ship, etc., etc. While another person may come to this planet and they might encounter, a traveling merchant, a cargo ship that has crashed and need to repair their parts. And maybe they request you to help them repair their parts, and maybe you get some credit with them, build your stronger alliance with them. Maybe they introduce you to a new manufacturer. Now you can buy different cargo parts for your ship, and et cetera, et cetera. Or maybe you get blueprints for those cargo parts for your ship, because possibly you can craft those cargo parts or those ship parts yourself. And that's where I think the main aspect is going to be different from these two games. I don't think Bethesda is going to allow you to just go to a planet with nothing on it. Something is going to be there because the world will throw something at you regardless of what you're doing. Maybe a meteorite falls down in an inconvenient place and now there's special ores. Or maybe it falls in an even more inconvenient place and lands on your ship and destroys it. And now you have to do some repairs for it, you know? And I think that's going to be one of the main aspects that you will see that really differentiate them. Now, let's talk about the part that excites me the most, the comparison to FTL. Now let's look at also some of the user interface that they show us in the ship customization and some of the ship combat so we can better understand what to expect. And I'm also going to show you some gameplay of FTL so we can see some comparisons in the manner in which he may mean. But I think that the gameplay trailer shows enough for us to be able to understand. Now, as you look at this right here, you can see that there are a couple different things in this user interface. There is W0, W1, W2, engine or ENG, which stands for engine, SHD, which stands for shield, and GRV, which stands for, I forgot the term he used, but essentially the gravity drive, basically the warp speed, the going very fast. Then we have the reactor and the equipped power. Now, if you look at these, you'll see that each one of these weapons takes a different amount of energy, and the reactor has a certain amount of energy. So, as you're creating your ship, you will choose a base reactor for your ship, which there will be plenty of different manufacturers to choose from, many different price ranges and such, and etc. And once you have this reactor, you can then allocate this energy to different aspects of your shield. Of course, they need to be able to actually use that energy, withstand that energy, maintain that energy. Now, if we look at the bottom here, we have LAS, BAL, and BSL. Now, I can't say exactly what each of those stand for, but I can give you a general idea. As looking through the gameplay, we can see some of the things that it's doing. LAS most likely stands for some sort of laser system. Maybe BAL is a ballistic system, and MSL is a missile system. And you can see that each of these systems have different energy allocated to them. And based on your main reactor, it's going to determine whether or not you have the energy to actually put towards it. But that's not just all. You could have, let's say this specific ship had a lot less energy, but you have all three of these weapons. You can choose and allocate the energy as you're playing. So maybe you're attacking somebody with your laser, and you realize they have a type of shield, and Todd Howard did say that there are other types of shield. There's not one type of shield. There's multiple different types of shield. So
it's not just how the ship looks, it's how it performs, from engines to shields to weapon systems, because yes, you can fly it.
It can be possibly for different types of weapons, type of laser systems, type of missiles. Maybe they have one type of shield that shoots, missiles as they shot at you. That way, no missiles hit you. One may be an energy shield that protects you from lasers, and another may be who knows what. But those are just some examples. Now, you'll be able to deactivate Weapon 0, your lasers, because you realize they have strong laser defense, and you can switch over that energy to your missile launcher now to send a missile to hit that ship to go against that power, and you'll be able to do that on the fly immediately as shown in the trailer. Now, some of the other things I want to take a look at here, which honestly, when you really look at it in details, it's kind of amazing. And if you look too, some of these parts require, skills for you to actually put them onto your ship, such as the starship design skill. And not only that, let's look at some of the other things they have here. Hull. The hull of your ship is essentially the physical defense. It's the skin of the ship as a comparison. So see, as if you use, let's say you use suntan lotion as a shield, a barrier from the sun. That will be your shield. But your physical skin now is protecting your insides from the direct rays of the sun in the outside world. That is your hull. Okay? We also see shield, of course. Cargo. Now this is important, because now if you're like me and you like to take every single thing that you see, which is possible, and we'll go more into details with that later based off of what some of the things Pete Hines said.
The items in the world are all real things. You walk into a store and there's a bunch of weapons or whatever. Like, that's not just art on a countertop. Like, you could pick those up. You could steal them and run out of it. You can create chaos. Like, we don't want to put too many limits on what the player is or isn't allowed to do. We love it when players say, I wonder what happens if, and then they try it. And then they get...
You will actually need to allocate parts of your ship to maintain the whole of your ship. I'm sorry, to add on to the cargo capacity of your ship to hold more things. So I assume it's going to be you collecting resources, materials, guns, etc., etc. And there will be an aspect of this where you can decide to be just a plain trader. Maybe you decide, hey, the violent life isn't for me. I want to make some money just doing some trading. You make a cargo ship with some basic defense to defend yourself, and maybe there will be pirates to come in. Maybe, and there will be pirates that will come and attack you and try to take your stuff. Then we have crew. So this is the amount of crew members that your ship requires, and if you look at it, as you select certain parts of your ship, the crew aspects, certain items of the ship require a certain amount of crew. Now, I don't know if it was going to go into details such as FTL, which is not the same genre of game. Yes, they are both space, space games, let's say. But FTL is a real-time strategy game where you can pause, you can tell your crews to go from different locations. But one thing is very noticeable to me that I hope that I see in Bethesda game, which is more of a theorizing here. Your crewmates have specialties, and they get better at their jobs as they do it more and more. Now, of course, your crew can die as well. Maybe you get boarded by somebody else, because I doubt you're going to be the only one boarding ships. I'm assuming other people are going to be boarding you as well. You can lose those people. Those people will have names. Those people may have personalities. Those people have jobs. And maybe you can tell those people to go around and fix different parts of your ship. In FTL, you can actually tell them, hey, this part of the ship is damaged, go and fix it. Now, I think with this type of game, it's probably not likely that they will be able to fix your ship mid-combat, but probably more after combat, your crew can go around the ship and start fixing things up before you guys get into something else. Next thing there is the jump range. Now, this one I'm looking at in front of me says 23 light years, essentially saying you can jump 23 light years. If you don't know what a light year is, I can explain that. I know some people may say something like, why are you explaining something like that? Of course they know what a light year is, but not everybody knows what a light year is and how people talk about traveling in space. What a light year is the distance that light can travel in a year. So the speed of light, the fastest form of movement that we currently know and can comprehend, is the speed of light. And the distance that light can jump in that time period, a light year is 5,878,625,370,000 miles. So that is how far light can travel in a year. Now you can see here your warp drive is 23 light years. So this ship can go 23 times that in a jump, which is, you know, an instantaneous thing. So this is happening all in an instance for you. Next up is the mobility of your ship. I assume that means like the dynamics of it, how it flows around, which can be based off of the rocket systems and the other aspects of your ship that you may add onto it. The top speed, it's the same situation, and then mass. Now, if you look at each of the individual parts of the ship, each of these parts have a mass to them. They have their own essential weight to them. And this will affect your ship because this will affect the mobility and the top speed of your ship because there's more that you're carrying around. So if you want a really fast-paced, light ship with not too much things on it, you're zooming around your opponents, they can't keep up with you, you're blasting them down, that's optional. You have to use less things, you have less mass, you have strong thrusters. But maybe you decide to go the more tanky aspect where it's a little slow ship but has a massive amount of hull, a really good shield system, and it defends itself very well where it can fend off enemy attacks. Maybe you don't even have a weapon system. Maybe it just defends off until your warp drive is ready, and then as soon as your warp drive is ready, you just jump out of there, you know? And that will be an option for you to do. They have the grav jump fuel. Now this one here I thought was interesting. Now if you look at the gameplay that they show us, they show lock-on system, but not just simply lock-on system. It's targeting specific parts of the ship. Each of your ship items have their own HP on the ship, which means if you're trying to board a ship, what do you want to do? Well, how about make it stop moving first? Okay, you shoot all of its engines and its thrusters. Boom. Now it has nothing to thrust it amongst space. Now, of course, if this is going by the actual laws of physics, if the ship is going fast and you blow off the thrusters, supposedly the ship would still keep flying incredibly fast and won't stop. And probably will be very entertaining to watch, honestly. But I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. But if you were to do that, boom, you destroyed their thrusters now. Now they are no longer able to move, which I think is more of the aspect that they want to go for. You take those off, it's now immobile. That way you can go up to it and you can dock it. And now you can go on the ship and you can go and, you know, negotiate, kill them, steal the things on their ship instead of destroying everything. And that would be a viable option. But one of the things that got me very interested is the grav fuel tanks, because that is literally explosive. And you have the fire symbol to let you know like this thing is explosive. So if you were to target this grav fuel tank, which will also prevent them from using their grav jump at all by destroying their fuel, well, now you just caused a massive explosion because you just shot the fuel tank. It's a very big explosion. You can target their weapon system. Maybe you have a certain type of shield that you can fend against laser weapons, but you can't fend against missile weapons. So you decide to shoot the missiles on the ship, and now guess what? Their ship is no longer able to harm you anymore. Maybe you aim directly for the reactor and you start to mess up the reactor where the whole ship starts to shut down because there isn't enough energy. Or maybe the person has to allocate the energy more wisely. In this case, the NPC or yourself. You may have to allocate the energy more wisely to continue to survive and get away and possibly win this fight. If we look here, there's also different classes for these items, and that can be a couple different things that I can imagine. Maybe class is like if you're with a certain faction, you have to get up to a certain reputation or loyalty with them before you can buy this item off of them. Or maybe it's a pricing thing where you can just know like this is a high quality material, this is a high quality item, and therefore it's going to cost you a lot more. It's just an easy way to sort through your stuff. That way you don't have to worry about, maybe you just think to yourself, well, everything below C class is trash, so I don't even want to think about it, and just toss it to the side, sell it, scrap it, whatever your decision may be. And that will be optional to you. And now I also see here that you can practice fly your ship. So not only can you craft your ship, but you can test out how the ship works before you even finish the ship itself. You don't have to buy everything, try it out, and realize, oh, this all sucks, and I just waste all my money. No, you get to do a flight check. At least that's the way I am interpreting the flight check there. These will be options for you. Now, if we look at FTL, you can see some of the similar concepts, and I'm gonna have some gameplay there in the background so you guys can see what I mean and how there's different shields and such. And I'm just gonna have that play in the background so you can just see what that gameplay is like, because this is what they're taking inspiration from. And lastly, I want to discuss a little bit more about what Pete Hines had brought up, which is some of people's main concerns. A lot of people are concerned that Starfield is going to be a bit of a grind fest. As you saw in the clips, they have mining lasers similar to No Man's Sky. Now, granted, I made these comparisons not because I want to directly link these two games, but let's be honest, No Man's Sky is a great game for what it is, and it really takes the forefront when it comes to space exploration games, and it's kind of what the expectations are. So to compare it to it, I think is somewhat a compliment, because No Man's Sky was very ambitious in a lot of things that it did, and a lot of the systems that you see, that you're gonna see in this title as well, it's not the fact that they are copying from No Man's Sky or they're taking inspiration, which I'm pretty sure that they did take some inspiration from it. It's a great game to take inspiration from, considering that all it does. But what is more important is the fact that that is a space exploration game. These are the things people expect to see in a space exploration games. No one's surprised that you have a spaceship in a space game. In fact, you'll be more surprised if you didn't. So nobody's surprised that you can go to, well, of course, we all were surprised when we found out we can go to 1,000 planets, which I'm pretty excited for. But I know a lot of people are worried, like, oh, well, there might not be too much to do on those planets. But let's be honest, if we want to look at a space exploration game, if we look out into the vastness of space in real life, yes, there are a lot of planets that have nothing on it. I think that's part of the point. You don't expect, I will be disappointed if every single planet I came to had like tons of life, like as if it was Earth, has tons of activity as if it was Earth, because each planet should have their own experience. But of course, some of these experiences are going to be barren planets. That's just it comes with the territory of space, and I think it's quite unrealistic to say, we hope there's not going to be any just barren planets that you use just for mining. There will be barren planets that you use just for mining. That's just the reality of the situation. But you will not have to.
And for every single one, you cannot pin people down to, oh, it's about this, because it's not. Like, ultimately what those games are massive sandboxes where they give players just ridiculous amounts of freedom to say, you go figure out what kind of game you want to play and what kind of experience you want to have, because that's what this game is about. It's not us prescribing and saying, you have to do these things. And no, it's about creating this huge sandbox with over 1,000 planets so you can completely explore and say, yeah, but you don't have to. Like, it's entirely up to you to figure out what is fun for me. Do I want story? Do I want to join factions? Do I want to, build outposts and gather resources to build more cool stuff? The team really puts all of those tools in the player's hands and step back and says, now it's time for you to tell the story of Starfield, which is your story, which is going to be different than mine, which is going to be different than everybody else's. And I think that's really where the magic of a Bethesda Game Studios game happens.
What does Bethesda define an epic RPG as?
I think, again, it's sort of leaning into, look, there's a lot of folks who take a lot of different approaches on what does an open world mean. And Bethesda Game Studios always pushes themselves to the most freedom and least limitations, right? Where one, it's you could spend thousands of hours doing nothing but shipbuilding and like focus that as all you're about, and that's okay. But you could also be about exploring every planet and finding all of the good, and that's okay. Or you could just play the main story and be like, I want a kind of experience that I'm guided through so that I kind of get to see stuff, and I might stop here and there. Oh, there's a cool side quest that I got, but you know.
Now, guys, this video has been going on long enough, so I wanted to end it, but let me leave you with this last thing. Let's run through a scenario in our head of what gameplay may be like in this new Bethesda title. Let's say I'm playing a amoral neon street kid who happens to be very much into exploring and discovering new things. So this person will want to have a ship, that way they can go around. They'll probably get involved in the main storyline because it's about discovery and understanding and science and exploration, etc., etc. But let's say I don't have the time nor the patience to run my own mining operation. So I'm flying through space exploring, but I think to myself, I need myself a better ship because this isn't enough. So I build myself a highly specialized small attack ship. I go and fly out into space to a sector that has trade routes going through it. Now, in this sector, I see one of these cargo ships, and I think to myself, nice, instead of going mining on one of these barren planets, I know where I can make my money. I'm going to go over there and take down that ship. I see this ship, I target its thrusters, possibly there's some sort of communication system. I'm taking inspiration here from Skyrim, how if you killed all the witnesses, nobody knows you committed the crime. So assuming that you can kill everybody and disrupt their communications, nobody know you did anything, boom. I take over their ship, destroy their thruster, destroy their shield, destroy their weapons, so that way they can't fight me back. And I go take it over, I repair some things, that way I can, dock. And I repair some things, that way the ship can fly again, and I fly it to some illegal person, some black market vendor that I can sell all this cargo to, because I don't want this to be traced back to me, and I make me some money off of it. Then I go use that to build me a better ship for exploration. Or let's say I decide to get into smuggling. What is smuggling? I'm not too sure. Maybe you're smuggling species from another planet to another separate planet, similar to like invasive species how we have in real life, but now taken to a whole nother scale because you're bringing it to a whole nother planet, and who knows the side effects of that. Maybe you're smuggling different types of weapons. Maybe they're drugs that you can sell that are like highly addictive and people don't want them around them. Regardless, you can get money this way. Let's say I'm on a planet. Let's say I'm on a planet, just discovering, looking around, seeing what's there, and there was a random encounter where I bumped into some space pirates. Now me, I would think, hey, they probably have some highly valuable illegal stuff that I can sell and smuggle. I go over there, I kill all their people, I take over their ship, and everything inside their ship is pick up. You can pick it up and put it into your inventory. And I take everything I see that I want, I scrap down the ship and probably sell the ship for extra money. And then I have this new smuggling good, I take it to another sector of space, and I sell off to people that are there. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people are worried that, they'll be forced into doing things, but I don't see it that way. You just have to simply ask yourself, what is your goal? And what is it going to take to accomplish it? If you want to build a base, you're going to need supplies. Just so happens, you can either mine your supplies, steal your supplies, buy your supplies. Oh, but everything on here is very expensive. That's fine. Steal something that's expensive. Take a ship that's expensive. You don't have to steal from a faction you like, because there's clearly going to be factions on here. Steal from a faction you don't like. Sell their stuff. Boom. Money. Money, money, money. And then I'm going to go back and visit my parents and share my money with them and tell them stories of my adventures, as they are ashamed of me as I killed all these people. But I digress. It's what pays their bills, so they can't complain too much. And then I go on my way. So guys, that's where I'm going to end this video here today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a better understanding and what to expect when it comes to gameplay wise of Starfield. And I do look forward to playing this game in the future. And you guys can most definitely like, subscribe, and come back for more. You can see some of my Starfield gameplay. I'll do some roleplay gameplay there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but if you guys have some ideas, please feel free to let me know. Whatever you're interested in seeing. I will most likely play through the main storyline just because personally I like main storylines, and the idea of exploratory story is most definitely down my line. You know, if I was, say, role playing as myself, I would most definitely join the group of explorers just because I'm curious just like the rest of them. But I'll leave you guys there. Have a great day. Look forward to speaking with you guys on the next video.